There we go. Wow, it sure takes YouTube a long time to connect the actual camera from the time I push start. Now it's asking me to set up my goal in the background. So give me a few moments just to get started. Hey, Rita Close. Hey, Suzanne from New York. I'm April from Los Angeles. So cool to have somebody from New York in here. Kathy Mowry. Hello. Sassy Granny, another one of my New York friends. Hi, April. How was your day? Says Kathy X50. I've just been preparing for this live. That's all I've done thus far. And I'm going to try to shorten it. I know I say that every video, but oh my gosh. Let's give it a few moments to let people in. Let me make sure I've got the live chat on both devices here rather than top chat. Always set your chats to live chat and you'll be able to see all the comments, hopefully. Unless there's a YouTube glitch, which happens a lot. So if I don't respond to you, it's because there's a glitch. Aha! More rumors about A&T arrest. Arizona Desert Walker. Yay! You made it to the start of a live versus the end. As long as you're watching, I don't care if you're watching live or you're watching the replays or you're just going to the playlist like the Nancy Guthrie playlist or the True Crime playlist or any of my playlists and you're just hitting see all or view all, whatever it says. And then the videos are just play, 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 play. As long as you're watching. 13 people here. 3 thumbs up. Make sure you guys are subscribed to April Davis PI. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up buttons on all the videos that you're watching. Placing comments on long form content or live replays. Participating in the chat. Arizona Desert Walker says, usually the end or replay, I went to the like button. Thank you. Thank you so much, Arizona Desert Walker. I should just call you ADW. Oh boy, here we go again. I knew that was going to happen. Oh gosh. Okay, 27 people. Okay. I'm April Davis PI. I'm a licensed California private investigator, and as most of you already know, I've been reporting on the Nancy Guthrie missing person case since day 1. Today is day number 109, sadly, and it is May 20th, 2026. Yeah, I always like to say the date just in case you guys are watching this back, years later. We'll have a time frame as to when this was. Let's see. Okay. I talked to an FBI agent for about 40 minutes yesterday. Now, before you guys get all excited, no, the FBI did not contact me regarding the Nancy Guthrie case. Hey, Michelle, welcome in. I am a member of the California Association of Licensed Investigators. As you guys know, I've had a 42-year PI career, cut short at the 35-plus year mark because of health issues. However, I still have my license activated. I'm still an active member of the California Association of Licensed Investigators, and I still, talk to my fellow PIs and contacts that I've worked with over the years. And so far, I've heard from 2 people. Now, this particular guy is not one of the guys in California that I've worked with. This is just a guy that's a new member of Cali, a retired member of the FBI, had a very extensive FBI career, worked a total of 3 different offices in 3 different states, but has never worked in Arizona. And let me explain that he's not involved in this case in any way because he is retired and he doesn't personally know anybody or know anyone to his knowledge that is working this case. But I did go over what I know and I kind of picked his brain about what he thinks. Because remember, I'm a licensed private investigator. I'm a very good detective. Um, I have worked with a lot of federal agencies and local law enforcement in my career, but I am not an FBI agent, nor have I ever been an FBI agent. So it's very nice to talk to someone who is actually a former retired FBI special agent. Michelle, I'm 63, hate world we live in, no, with all this technology, it's disgusting. Okay, let's just keep this, Michelle, to this Nancy Guthrie case, okay? Uh, yeah, I have a lot to say today, so I don't really have a lot of time to filter through some of these unrelated comments. Let's just stick to this case. This guy, and I'm not going to name him, he, like I said, does not know anybody specifically working this. He did tell me that the best thing for me to do would be to put something in writing to the FBI. Thank you, Arizona Desert Walker. Yeah. Okay, goodbye. No new details as far as the news is concerned, Lucky Kool-Aid, but I have talked to an FBI agent, and he did suggest I contact them in writing. I haven't done it yet. I was pretty busy last night, handling YouTube and, having a long conversation with him. I'm still gathering my thoughts on what exactly I'm going to put in writing. What? Well, what mean can't understand why elderly woman? Okay, I don't understand what you're saying, Michelle. Are you talking about Nancy Guthrie? Please let me know. Um, he said that the tip center, like the FBI tip line, that 1-800 call FBI number, that they're probably still getting a lot of tips and they're just overwhelmed. Because this is a big case, it's in the public eye. He kind of like not joked, but said, had this been a case of the daughter of a drug cartel member who lived, north of the Mexican border and she disappeared, that, you know, nobody would really care other than her family or her loved ones, like there wouldn't be thousands and thousands of tips coming in on this case. Thank you, Lucky. So this is a huge case. Now, he had only followed this personally for a month. He didn't seem to know as many details as I know about this case. Hey, Maggie, welcome in. Um, he does agree with me, though, that this was not a burglary or a robbery or a home invasion type of crime. It's just that didn't happen. Sadly, I must say, I got to be careful how I word this, but he believes, like I do, that Nancy is passed on. That's a better way of putting it. And his exact words, he believes that she is 6 feet under in the desert. Uh, basically DEAD, and buried. That's just his opinion. Um, when I talked about, does he believe it was like a legit kidnapping? He kind of corrected some of my language, and I'm glad he did. He pointed this out. He said, well, she was taken from her home and, presumably against her will, but the fact that she was taken from her place of residence, that this does make this case a kidnapping. Now, was it a kidnapping for ransom? Was it a kidnapping for some other nefarious purpose? We don't know that at this time, but they are investigating it as a kidnapping. whether they have the ransom notes or not. And, depending on if they are valid or not, or they're just copycats or people trying to get money or red herrings, that this is still a kidnapping because she was taken away from her home. He does feel strongly, as I have always said, you can look at all my videos on this from day one, that he believes she passed within the first 24 to 48 hours. He also contemplated, as I did at the beginning, that I contemplated at the beginning of this case that she may have passed in her home. However, based on evidence that's later come out, I then changed that, especially because of the pacemaker, the rapid heartbeat as it unsynced, and the oxygenated blood. And he had forgotten about that. So he thought, there was a good chance she had passed in her house. And so I reminded him of that. Sorry, I had a little blood pressure moment there. Let me get some fluid. He feels that, it could have happened in her house, but then when I told him about the blood evidence, he was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So that she was taken away by a vehicle somewhere. We don't know where. She passed within the first 24 to 48 hours. He also agreed with me that the perpetrator had no proof of life. He sounded to me like he's leaning more towards a single person rather than a group. I'm leaning more towards a group. I'm also leaning more towards someone who had intimate knowledge of that property, or they're working for someone who had intimate knowledge of the property. He did say that there is a chance that is a single person, and in his exact words, they just got lucky. I don't believe that. But, anything is possible. He did agree with me that it is a weird case. He also further confirmed what I've told you, that the police and the FBI have a lot more knowledge about what's going on here than what the public knows. I said 5 to 10%. His guess was 10 to 20%. They're not going to, publicly announce what they're investigating or what they have or what evidence they have. But it's going to take a lot of time because there's a lot of video to go through, a lot of cell tower evidence to go through. He said, the closest cell tower could have had 5,000 hits that night. Thank you, Maggie. There's this takes time. It's not like what you see on a TV show, which I agree. It's not like television. It never is. So the public doesn't know much of what's going on. He does not believe the media when the FBI reported or the police reported that they had over 400 agents working in this case. He doesn't believe that at all. He believes the current number is more around probably 50. I don't know why he thinks that. I don't think it's as much as it was to begin with. There are many tips that are coming in due to the notoriety. Like he said, if this was the daughter of a drug cartel person out of Mexico and she lived north of the border and something happened, like nobody would hear about this case. And he goes, we talked about the crazy factor. And he said, yeah, sometimes the crazies do have, pertinent information, but usually they don't. I call it the people that send the manifestos. But he said, I guarantee you, and he was just kind of like tongue in cheek when he said this, but he said, I guarantee you there's probably at least 200 tips that have come into that tip line where people are claiming that Nancy was abducted by aliens. And we both laughed about that. But yeah, you have to, you know, there's the people that know the immediate clues, and then there's all these just random people that are crazies or people that just, they see things on YouTube or on TV and they're just, oh, well, maybe it's this guy, and the FBI, it takes a long time to go through all that because there's so many tips coming in. There's thousands of tips coming in, and probably not as many as there were in the first, few weeks, but there's still a lot of tips coming in. There's still a lot of evidence to go through. And therefore, calling the tip line, you're not really gonna, the person that's answering the phone and typing into their screen what you're saying or not typing it in, that's probably never even going to get to the right person who's involved in this case. He thought that maybe the FBI website might even have a tab or a link that you could report specifically about this case. I've already checked into that twice. No. Hi, Survival Empire, Rational Reviews. Well, that's a mouthful. Welcome back. Michelle said neighbors didn't give crap. I disagree with that. But we can agree to disagree. So once again, all the evidence like video, cell phone pings, DNA, evidence gathered at the scene, all the tips that are coming in, this all takes a long time to filter all this. He did agree with me 100% that this is a very weird type of case to go in and take an 84-year-old woman. Based on what I know about the case, I think more than one person's involved. He says it's more likely a single person. I thought that was interesting that he would say that. Like I said, someone had to know where those cameras were. Someone had to know that she was in there alone and there was no alarm. There was no panic button. There was no security, so to speak. There is now at that house, but nobody lives there now. You know, it's a little too late, in my opinion. I mean, I would definitely beef up the house, but you know, you don't need alarms and sophisticated systems now to protect a ghost because that's all that's there right now, in my opinion. Who knows what's going to happen to the house? But I know I'm going a little off subject here, but I believe they spent too much time there. They knew where everything was as far as the security and the cameras and the alarms or lack of alarms. And I don't think she came and met them at the door because she didn't have her hearing aid. She wouldn't have heard someone at the door. Plus, I reminded him that the back doors were propped open with the big planters. They were left open. They were in that house for way too long. He doesn't really know why. He's not working the case, and he's not connected to anybody in the FBI that's working the case. I am going to write that letter, and you write what I know about the person that I think is front porch guy, or that it could be him, because I'd really like to see law enforcement, you know, either confirm him or eliminate him. Now, maybe they already have. I could call in the best tip in the world, but if it's something that they already know and they've already done, how am I going to know that? I don't know what they have. None of us here. Nobody in the public, probably not even the family. And another thing about the family, he said he doesn't really know a lot about Nancy Guthrie. Like he goes, I know nothing about like her family, her relatives, any situation, like personal situations. Like I don't think he even knew who Annie and Tommaso were. So he really hasn't followed this case that closely. Um, Look me up. Let's fix America. Oh gosh. Yeah, I am the real deal. It's all about doing the manual. Cess? What is Cess? Kathy, I just saw that video before I came on, and thank you for that recommendation. She said there was a video out uh, to the Nancy Guthrie family by John Ramsey. Yeah, I just saw that with Brian Enton. Yes. And once again, I'd love to shake that man's hand or meet him or give him a hug because those people were never involved in their daughter's case. But that's another case we're not going to talk about that because that's still an active investigation as well. Even the Boulder Police Department, although they are cooperating and, keeping them updated, they're not really saying what they're doing, and for good reason. Just like the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI, they're not going to come on TV and say, this is what we know. I think that sheriff, really messed this case up from the beginning. They should have never released the crime scene. I'm not going to beat that into the ground anymore. We all know that, you know, the sheriff's department, they really didn't know what they were doing in this case. Sounds a lot like the Boulder case with John Benet Ramsey that You had very inexperienced detectives that didn't even apparently know how to handle a homicide. And then all of this stuff just went wrong and it just snowballed. Now, would they have caught the guy or people faster had they not destroyed all this evidence and opened up the crime scene too soon? Who knows? That's hindsight is 2020 vision. Um, let's go again. Here we go again. You're timed out. Captain Birdhammer says Tucson is run by liberals. That's why. I don't think politics has anything to do with it. Nick. Hello, Nick. Welcome in. I still don't know what manual cess means. Oh, hi, Kelly. Yeah, I'm not going to be on very long today because there's just not a whole lot more to talk about. Oh, and there's been somebody who's been very aggressive in my comments, um, telling me, when I do good or when I do bad, and that yesterday's video was a lot better. Yeah, 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 yeah. If you can do it better, do it yourself. Feel free to start a YouTube channel. If you want to watch somebody else, go watch somebody else. Um, I've been on here since February the 2nd, and today is May the 20th. I've got a lot on my plate. I'm doing the best I can. And, there's over 50,000 people a month, or actually over 50,000 people in 28 days that are watching this. So somebody seems to like it. You keep coming back and blowing up my comments. I guess you have continued to watch, but nobody is required to watch or to follow. If you want to watch somebody else who, does their channel differently, go for it. I run my business as I run my business. Kathy, Nancy states the facts as she knows them. Oops, April. I thought you meant that. Okay. April states the facts as she knows them. Yes. I'm not going to, put clickbait titles and clickbait thumbnails. And I'm very careful that I'm keeping this FBI agent's identity private. Not that I know of, Mimi. Not unless it's happened since I came on the air, sadly. So everybody just take this guy's word. He did have a very long, thorough, successful FBI career. Take this guy's word that they know a lot more than what they're saying. And it's just going to take time to work all this out. Hey, Brian. It is a real mystery. Now, he does believe that most likely scenario is that they are going to, at some point, make an arrest at some point. But he does think that when all this is said and done, especially since he's going with the single suspect theory, that's what he's leaning towards. When this is all said and done, he thinks there's a lot less of a chance that they're going to find Nancy, meaning remains. He said a lot of cases that end up being, unalivings that get prosecuted never have a body. And I want to be more hopeful that they will find her, no matter what state that she's in, so the family can have closure. But he says there's a lot less of a chance of that happening than them actually finding the person responsible. Emerald Eyes, glad to hear that you did reach out to the FBI, and I think to put something in writing is a great idea. I will. And thank you for your support. Yeah, I am going to keep this short today. I know there's 61 people watching. Hey, 19 thumbs up. Give me a little more thumbs up there with 61 people. The latest subscription count is 2917. Yeah, it hasn't moved one notch since I came on the air. It is what it is. I think there's less and less people that are following this at this time. This is a huge case, and even this guy being a retired FBI agent, he said he only followed it for the first month, and then he lost interest. And he's not a bad guy. There's just other things on his plate. Um, oh, thank you, Brian. He says, "Come on, everybody, let's try to get our family members to watch April. It's very enlightening." No, that's not a gated community where she lives. Anybody can drive in, but it is a large neighborhood that's a maze because we have a friend here on my YouTube channel who has watched some of my videos, who's been in communication with me, and she said it's a maze and it's very easy to get lost in there. It's a very large area. It's a very large area. It's not a small neighborhood. It's a big neighborhood. Oh boy, people have nothing better to do. That's not a stupid question. Yeah, that is her house. That's a green screen, Kelly Ray. Michelle, she was able to care for herself. Older people don't need to be put up in a nursing home if they can take care of themselves. Exactly. It is picturesque. It looks beautiful, but it sure is a scary place at night, let me tell you. Yeah, it's beautiful there. And I think just because she lived there for so long and nothing remotely bad had ever happened there, she felt very safe there and her family felt that she was safe there. But no place is safe. There are knuckleheads and bad people everywhere. It's just the way the world spins. Being that she was elderly, she needed protection. Well, she felt that her home was protected enough. I guess it wasn't. That's sad. This is terrible. And I do appreciate everybody coming in, everybody, that's subscribed, that's following, that's giving me thumbs up, that's watching the replays, putting thumbs up in the comments. It's great. Um, but I don't want to just come in here every day and just talk about the same stuff over and over and over. This was important because I wanted you guys to know that I talked to an actual retired FBI agent, and then I will probably be working on that letter a little later on. I've got to write it in a way that I get somebody's attention. It's much easier to have a conversation with somebody, like face to face or by phone, than to put it all in writing because they obviously know things that I don't know about this case because I'm not working this case. Um, Good afternoon, Dean. Let's see. Yeah, it is what it is, but he does think that it'll be solved. There's less of a chance that they'll actually find Nancy. I hope they do. He's more going with the single perp theory, where I'm going with the group theory, but I don't know the details that the police know. And I think there's more in that 911 call, and that's why they will never release that. Like you might hear about it at trial, but that's sealed. No, I did not. Arizona Desert Walker. I kind of agree with that, Michelle. Yeah, the last person to drop her off should have went into the house to make sure she's safe. Yeah, that seems a little sus to me. That whole story. But we're only hearing what has been told to us. And remember, Nanos, he's made a lot of contradictory statements. 100% group, and they had knowledge. Obviously, yes, I'm watching from the beginning, so I might be commenting on things you already talked about. Okay, no problem. Oh, yeah, I got that. And I sent you an email back, Dean. Thank you. Michelle says, so that makes me think someone in the family. The people closest to her would be the group that they would focus on immediately, just because, 75 to 92% of the time it is somebody that somebody close to you. But then once they have those people eliminated, then they spread the net wider. But at this point, because we as the public, we don't know what they know, anything is possible. And nobody's eliminated. It's still a weird case. This FBI agent agrees with me. It's a weird case. Who knows how this is going to turn out? Michelle believes Tommaso. Well, everybody here is innocent until proven guilty. I'm not going to tell my audience on YouTube what I think. I'm not going to tell anybody what I think. But as far as I'm not going to name names, but there's so much that I don't know. I wish I had access to every detail of this case. Then I would be in a better position to, to possibly be able to name somebody. But thank you, Dean, for the email. Somebody sent me an email the other night and said, I need you to watch this video. And I clicked it and it's like 3.5 hours long. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. I apologize, but there's not enough hours in my day. There's so much to research on this. I'm doing the best I can after, been making videos on this since February 2nd, sometimes more than once a day. I missed one day for medical, for a surgery, and I think I missed another day for a doctor's appointment, and that's been it. So, you know, um, I know sometimes people, they want to ask me questions. They want to know more about me and my life and my career. And, we get off topic, but, um, for those that, are not interested in that, you don't need to watch. So, but thank you for all the comments. Thank you for participating in the chat. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the subscribes. I hope you guys are watching all my videos. I've got over 500 videos on my channel. Kathy says, I don't think A&T, Annie Tommaso, had the financial ability to finance this stuff. If they are guilty, they had to be working on the inside, in my humble opinion. I wouldn't think that they would be able to finance this. But remember, the FBI thought that the first 2 ransom letters were legit. I still have a problem with the ransom letters. Maggie, I appreciate your dedication. Enjoy the personal. Thank you, Maggie. Yeah, I enjoy hearing about you guys too. Hi, Noble. Yeah, I just saw that before I came on the air, Dean. I saw that. That case still breaks my heart. I have a distant cousin that lives in Boulder, Colorado, and it's a beautiful town, but I don't think I could ever live there because I'd be thinking about that 24 hours a day. Yeah, he's 82, almost 83, Kelly. I am retired from my job. Have ailments? No. I changed my diet. Okay. Let's just keep it to Nancy today. I'm going to keep this short. Thank you once again for your live stream. Well, no problem. I enjoy doing this. I really enjoy chatting with you guys. For me, it's something I've always enjoyed doing. I filmed all the time in my career, and I miss videos. And then I started after I survived, the cancer, and it was just not about cancer, but it was just to document my life and be able to go out and make videos. That's why I kind of want to get back out there again, but I'm limited. I have a cane now, so it's hard to walk down the beach and metal detect or, go to all these great places and film videos when, I'm very immobile at this point. Um, Kelly says, I studied every little piece of John Benet Ramsey books, articles, TV appearances. Fascinating. Me too. Is that Jeffrey's Ranch? No, that is Nancy Guthrie's house in Tucson, Arizona. Yeah, I've had a lot of surgeries. I've been on the operating table probably more than a dozen times over the last 10 years. I'm very good at the legal things about keeping it real. I try to. I've made a living from it, so. Hey, Texas Diane. Hey, you're just coming in at the end. So there's 45 people watching. You still have time to push the thumbs up. You know, I'm not going to be on here for another few minutes, but it's asking me to start a goal. There we go. That's a gift goal. That's those are the freebies. KMG, hello, KMG. Texas Mopar, welcome in. Yeah, I'm only 35 minutes into it, but I don't know. The last 3 days, I've just felt a little off about this whole case. Ever since I saw that middle of the night video and the strange lights, it's just been like, I don't know. My head's been going to dark places on this. Let's just pray that wherever Nancy is, that she's well now. Uma, is she the only one they did a ransom for? Who is the only one they did a ransom for? Hey, Kathy Doherty. 28 thumbs up, 48 people watching. Looks like my subscriber count just jumped a couple of notches. Yeah, 2919. So thank you for the two that just subscribed. Oh, you'd have to watch the lives that were done by people like JLR and Ted Investigates. I'm not subscribed to either one of them, but that's the channels I saw it on. No, well, I'm a bit behind. Does anything come out of the gloves and blood samples? Well, the only thing they've come to conclude from the blood is that the blood at the front porch is Nancy's, and all the gloves that were found were eliminated from this case. They did get a hit on one of them, but it was a restaurant worker a couple miles down the road. Had absolutely nothing to do with this case. I wonder if it was staged to keep interest in the case up. Well, if it was staged to throw the police off what the original motive was intended to be. You know, could have been intended as something else, and then somebody made it look like a kidnapping. And as the FBI agent told me, he said, well, she was physically removed from her house. You know, if she didn't just walk away and somebody took her, then it is, a kidnapping by the definition of a kidnapping. Now, what type of kidnapping, and did they do it for ransom or did they do it for some nefarious purpose? We don't know. But he agreed with me that it's a weird case, but he's only been following it for a month, and I've been following it since the night it happened. And I'm sure as an FBI agent, he has more experience in kidnappings than I do as a PI. Oh, you're talking about the strange light in the house? Yeah, that was in that's when those YouTubers went out and did the recreation of the crime scene. Okay, we're not talking about the missing dead scientist today, but I do have some videos on that, Uma, if you'd like to see them. Yeah, the strange light. Yeah, it was bizarre. If you've been watching my video, dude, you would know. Come on, Nancy, send a smoke signal. We will find you. Yeah, you gotta wonder if she did send a signal the other night. Kathy Mowry, I agree 100%. Just keeping up prayers that they find something soon. Yes. Yeah, I'm still creeped out about what happened. What was it, 2 or 3 nights ago? I'm still bothered by it. It's not going to help us solve the case, but I'm still bothered by it, especially knowing that that neighborhood really is as dark as, one of our viewers came in and told me that it was. The joys of monetization. Although I am so thankful that it did get monetized. I didn't mean to get remonetized. It just happened because of all the coverage I've done on the Nancy Guthrie case. Okay, I warned you. Goodbye. Hey, Mr. Marvin. I don't think it was staged, KMG. They don't have access to the inside of that house. Nobody was there at the time that we know of, so it definitely didn't seem staged. It's never happened before, it's never happened since, and it happened right when they said this would be the time that Nancy was being abducted, and boom, it happened. Yeah, I think about it too, and I'm not even family. I didn't even know her. Imagine the family having to go to sleep every night with no news. Their heads must go to dark, sad places. Yes, Kelly, I believe so. Like another person shining a light and using a mirror. No, there was nobody else out there. Yeah, that was just that's something that cannot be explained. And you can go wherever you want to go on it and have your own beliefs. No, that's not what we're saying. We're talking about the recreation of the crime. It's just, it was spooky. There's a lot of things that go on in this world that we can't explain, especially amongst people that have recently passed. Or you're not fully caught up. Okay. My biggest problem was figuring out how she was abducted. It was the middle of the night, no hearing aids. And how could she comply? Exactly. The hearing aids were apparently found on her nightstand next to her bed. Supposedly, she didn't have her hearing aids, her glasses. Obviously, they left her phone, her Apple Watch, her wallet, her purse, her keys, maybe even her shoes. I know. It's so sad, Noble. Yeah, KMG, that's true. Signs do happen. Absolutely. I've seen it myself. Now, what happened at Nancy's that night, I can't explain it. All I can tell you is this is what happened, and I can't explain it. Hey, Courtney. And, we're not going to get into religion or politics here, but, depending on what your religious beliefs are and your beliefs about the afterlife, you can draw your own conclusions. Oh, probably, Patrick. But I think that she did because it was related to her being abducted from her home in the middle of the night. And so now it's a lot more than just a kidnapping. Because now whoever's responsible is going to be facing unaliving charges as well, whether it was intended that way or it just happened accidentally during the commission of another felony. Tucson cops pulled you over today. Okay. So you're in Tucson, Patrick. What do you think about Nancy? I feel they are watching everything. Who? You mean the spirits? People that have crossed? One day we'll all know the answer to that. Kelly, maybe that can be somewhat reassuring that there is something there after we leave the living. I've experienced a bit of that one time, and it is reassuring. I hope she was welcomed warmly. Me too, Kelly. Yeah, and I've experienced that too. It actually kind of, helps me because being a cancer survivor and knowing that, bad things can happen with that. I mean, all of us have an expiration date, but it's kind of nice to know that there's more to a person's existence after their body passes. She's in a house somewhere. She could have been for a while, but she may not be there anymore. You think it's all money, says Patrick. Evilness cannot be explained. Neighborhood appears rougher than I expected. Yeah. You know, I've said this before many times on my channel that some of the most dangerous things that have ever happened in my career to me have happened in good neighborhoods. If you think you're safe wherever you live, you have a false sense of security. Anything can happen at any time. But I don't think that Nancy or Savannah ever thought this was going to happen, or they would have been more prepared. Absolutely, Mimi, you're correct. Mimi says, I think she died pretty soon after she was kidnapped. Probably. Noble says, I believe that everything happens for a reason. We may not get it right away, but looking back, it'll all make sense. I think so too on most things. And if we don't know the answers in this lifetime, we'll know in our next lifetime, or we'll know when we get to the other side what those reasons were. Kathy says she's gone. Yeah, I think so. And hopefully she's, up in heaven with her husband Charles, having her favorite drink and just having a good old time. But on the other hand, because her life was taken from her against her will, there's a possibility that she hasn't fully crossed yet and she's still hanging around. Mimi says God sees it all. Yes. I hope from a spiritual standpoint, she's not, stuck in the wrong place. Nancy, walk to the light. Kathy Mallory says walking in sunshine with no pain. Absolutely. I'm more worried at this point about, people like Savannah and her grandkids. Oh, I did find out, and I can't tell you how I found this out, but Cameron's kids, his girls, they're actually adults now. They're not like little kids, like Savannah's kids. And I don't know how old is Annie Tomaso's child. I'm not sure. But I have a feeling that he's a minor, like Savannah's children. But Cameron's kids are grown up. Not that I know of, Noble. Has Savannah or her siblings done any interviews recently? No. God bless Curtis. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that she talk to anybody. I mean, we all want to hear something, but no. She needs to keep what she knows to herself. VMS says she read that Annie Tomaso's son is 12 or 13. Oh, okay. I wonder if either one of them have any adult children from like previous marriages or relationships. Because I've heard rumors that she had a grown son and that he has a grown son, but I don't know if that's true. But they do have a son together. That's their child. And he has an Italian name, but I won't say that. I'd sure like to know where the heck they are right now. Is their child going to school? Is Tommaso teaching? Had he already stopped teaching before any of this ever happened? I'd love to know more about their current situation, but they're probably receiving, harassment and threats and maybe even death threats. So they're probably chilling somewhere. Venus says, yeah, isn't that crazy? They are just how? What does that mean? They're just how? Did I miss something, Demas? I'm sorry. My head's just going all these. I'm thinking about what that FBI agent said to me, and I'm thinking about what I saw the other night on that live crime recreation. I still can't get that out of my mind, and I need to just put that out of my mind and just focus on square one. Where's Nancy? Oh, okay. Vimas says, yeah, isn't that crazy? They are just gone. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they were at their house for quite a long time. Now, when Savannah was there, they were moving around to different places. Well, it's a very interesting watch, Kelly, that recreation of the crime. I didn't think it was going to turn out to be, and then the last half hour, everything went crazy. KMG says, I think Porch Guy had a key, and picking up the weird grass was a distraction. When he reaches down to the ground, it appears his left hand is reaching in his pocket. Then he holds. Oh, there was a whole bunch of YouTubers that did it. I just came in towards the end with JLR and Ted Investigates, but I was watching the JLR telecast. And I'm not a subscriber of any of these, these boots on the ground, but I do, check in with them. I'll check in with the juice mostly. Noble, this may sound harsh, but Savannah's last interview with Hoda rubbed me the wrong way. Well, that was just a bad interview, and it wasn't Savannah's fault, but that was a bad interview. Something felt off, especially Hoda sniffing and sobbing way too much. Yet that they should have never done that. We've already talked about that. Patrick says Nancy is alive in a house somewhere. Well, I would love to find that out if that was true. Let us know where, Patrick. Oh, the lead to the camera and maybe simultaneously using the key. Oh, you know what? Something I didn't mention. I just thought of it now that the FBI agent said, and I'd said this before. Like when we saw that video clip that Google got from the Nest doorbell camera, and they showed like this is front porch guy on this night, and this is front porch guy on another night that we think is the 11th of January, yada yada yada. What we have seen, the public, is probably a small snippet that there may actually be a lot more video or things that they recovered from that they just haven't talked about. Now, they did say with the other cameras, the ones that were broken on the side and the back of the house, that all they got were thumbnails, and those thumbnails, they were very small and they didn't show anything because it's too dark. But he said what we've seen at the front door, that the authorities may have a lot more than what we've seen. They just showed a small clip to the public because, they wanted us to say, hey, or they wanted to say to us, like, does anybody recognize this guy? It's dry today. Sorry. Lots of smoke in Los Angeles today. And I just felt it. I mean, it's coming in through the AC vents, the smoke. Ugh, we have fires everywhere right now. Sorry about that. I felt it and I tried to like prevent it, but I was like, oh, my eyes started watering. Kind of like when you drink something and it goes down the wrong pipe. That's what it felt like. Patrick says she doesn't want to go back to her house. Um, yes, they were in the house at least 41 minutes, depending on how many people were there and who got there first. Because we don't know who came in through the back or if somebody came in through the back. Because nobody broke through that front door. And I don't think she came and answered the door. Yeah, the smoke came into the San Fernando Valley last night from the Simi Sandy fire. And it's bad. And there's a facility there that for years has caused a lot of people in. Oh, sorry, I just bumped the table. There's people in Simi Valley in the part that's backs up to the San Fernando Valley. It's like right on the border of Ventura County and LA County, but it backs into the northwest San Fernando Valley. There used to be a aerospace facility there, but they had to shut it down because of radiation. And last night they were saying there's a possibility that the fire had already hit that area or was going to hit that area because the fire was jumping over from Ventura to LA and the smoke was filling up like the valley. And they were saying that, not only is the air quality like really bad here right now, and there's also a fire off on one of the Channel Islands, and there's many fires in Riverside right now. There were several fires in the Antelope Valley, but the Simi Valley fire, that's the Sandy fire, may have already gone through that very tainted facility that they've been trying to clean up for years. But so many people in that area have died. Like, I don't even know, like if it's dozens or hundreds. Many people have died there from radiation-related cancer, they believe. And now, if the fire went through there, that means that this smoke that's coming into LA, that the air would be toxic, not just toxic because it's smoke, but toxic because it is full of radiation. So we may be breathing in radiated smoke. Of course, I'm already lit up like a Christmas tree because of all the X-rays and the CAT scans, and you know. But yeah, there's a big, a very serious health risk to us Angelenos right now that are near or getting the residual smoke from that fire in Simi Valley. Look it up. It's called the Sandy Fire. Side angle. Welcome in. It is bad. I'm in Van Nuys. Yesterday they drove by with a bunch of bulldozers and bobcats. Oh, wow. You think all these places are so far away, right? Until there's a big fire. Just like the Palisades fire. You know, I know quite a few people in Palisades and Malibu that lost homes in that fire, even the Altadena fire, but you know, that was visible from the San Fernando Valley because, it's really not that far away. To drive there, yeah, you go through traffic and you go through that nightmare of Sunset Boulevard. It's a nightmare. I worked over there for years in Pacific Palisades and Brentwood, and that Sunset Boulevard, that windy, narrow road, it's a nightmare. But, now we got bears. We got bears in the San Fernando Valley because of bears that were displaced in the Palisades fire. Um, LA hasn't had a bear problem for years. Well, we've certainly had a lot of bear issues now, um, because of what's happened with all these fires. So, yeah, I'd love to see a bear, but I don't think I'll see one here in the East San Fernando Valley, although they do have them in Burbank. So you never know. I mean, we had P22, the mountain lion, in this area for years, and sadly, P22 is no longer. It was a very sad situation. An actor that I worked with years ago, Alan Ruck, he was one of the last citizens in Los Angeles, besides the wildlife people that ended up capturing him, where his life was, well, he was euthanized, sadly. But Alan Ruck, who I have known personally for years, I don't know him anymore, but he was one of the last citizens to see P22 in the wild. You know, he didn't realize at that time that he was witnessing history, and we miss our P22, that's for sure. We have others now, but P22 has our hearts. P22 is famous, sort of like, Billy the elephant that's been taken to Tulsa. But that's a different story. But yeah, we got a lot of wildlife issues right now. We got a lot of smoke. Uh, the winds were so bad that, was it last night? Either last night or the night before, or both, that the planes that come into Bob Hope, instead of coming in their usual patterns, they were flying right over my building and swooping around, and several had to do like touch and goes and go arounds because the winds were just that bad. And we don't usually get the winds here, so if the planes were, when they start coming over my place low and they're landing rather than taking off, I know that we got a problem. Also, look at fire smoke maps; it will tell you. Good idea, Arizona Desert Walker. Kathy says, I have a question. Did she receive Social Security and was still receiving it? Who would be able to get to it and access the money? Well, her Social Security would be direct deposited into her bank account, and the only people that would have access to it are the 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 names that are on the account. Um, and if she just had, it was going into a personal checking account and it's just her name, and it's not in the name of a trust, which, by the way, she did have a revocable trust, but she was her own trustee. So nobody would have access to any of her assets if they're only in her name. And remember, she has not yet been declared dead. So technically, Social Security would still have to make those payments. And then once they find her or declare her dead, then anything paid after that point would have to be paid back to Social Security. But if it's just her name on the account, nobody has access to the money. Dean, you need to cover your vents with wet paper towels. Our fire department says it'll help, especially if you suffer from allergies or asthma. Yeah, I don't really have allergies other than all the paper that's sitting on my desk, and then I start sneezing. Like, oh my God. I had the big pile of the birthday cards here, and I was like, achoo, achoo. Like, okay, I gotta move all this stuff. Uh, I think that's the only thing I'm allergic to is paper. I would never be able to work in a cubicle in an office with files. I wonder if they are using it. Nobody, no death right. Yeah, yeah. There's no death certificate. Nobody's been declared dead. Um, a side angle says Santa Clarita. Let me speak here. Santa Clarita. Now that I've cleared the smoke out of my throat, Santa Clarita has a fire on the hills at least once a year. It's like clockwork at this point. I know. I don't know how so many people live up there. They call it God's country. And the traffic is horrible up there because so many people in LA, like especially the law enforcement, like every department, it seems like most of the department either lives in Santa Clarita or Simi Valley. And it's just, rattlesnakes and fires 365 days a year now. Although occasionally, on a rare occasion, Santa Clarita, the temperatures will plummet in the wintertime and they'll get a nice little snow, which would be really cool. But that won't happen here in the valley. It won't happen in Van Nuys, that's for sure. Oh, that's global warming. Yeah, we have fire season 365 days a year now. Um, we only had a high of 62. We wet or dry, hot or cold. Rumor is that Annie Tommaso are deep in the red. I would think so. Even if they're not, even if they weren't before this case, I think they are now. But who's paying for all the work on the house? Could it be Savannah? Is the FBI stone thee? I don't know what that means. I'm sure it's just a typo. Is the FBI back on the case? They've always been on the case. Well, actually, since day 5. They came in on day 5, and we're at day number 109. Yes, Emerald Eyes. He agrees. Weather is crazy since global warming. Absolutely, especially here. And now they're saying that the biggest El Nino in like 150 years is happening right now, which means our ocean temperatures that are usually really cold here are going to warm like way above normal. And that not only causes problems with the ecological problems within the ocean, but that's going to possibly cause a devastating wet winter, which we kind of need because most of California, when we have the wet winters, like we get a lot of snow, but we need that for the water table. But the bad El Ninos can be devastating. And I've lived through a couple of them. One I was too young to remember when I lived here as a toddler, and the other one it was the winter of 98, 99, I believe. It was bad. So we may have some wild weather coming this fall and this winter. I showed you this card the other day. Remember, people are still sending mail to April Davis Platt. And I know it's hard to see with the green screen, but it actually has a kitty with little, like, glasses on the kitty. And this lady, I'm not going to give you her identity, but her name is Kathy. Well, I should say Kathleen. No, she does go by Kathy. Okay. Look at this. I just got this a few days ago, but it is dated April the 12th. It was sent May the 5th. It has a rabbit for a stamp. That's so cool. I love bunny stamps. I just had to read this one. I usually don't discuss these. Uh, but since we're at the end of the Nancy conversation, let me just read this for those who still want to listen. Dear April, I'm writing you a card to wish you a very happy birthday. My name is Kathy, and I live in Southern California. I retired 3 years ago as an educator and now spend my time writing letters, reading, sewing, and most recently learning to knit socks. Today was a beautiful day. I was able to see Catalina Island, which is 23 miles from the cliff in San Pedro. Yes, beautiful Catalina Island. We really are fortunate to live in California, aren't we? I hope you enjoy your day. I enjoyed writing to you. Wishing you the best, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. I don't know if you're watching my YouTube channel. I could get a lot more people just from all the people that wrote me. I was thinking about it. Do I have enough funds to send out, like, maybe I should start sending out thank you notes to all these cards, but there's just so many. It would be a huge project for me. Um, Stay in Cali. We don't want you in Georgia. Well, I don't want to go to Georgia either. Time out. Uh, it was 81 in Pennsylvania. It was in the zeros this morning and 62 in Missouri. Whoa, the zeros? Oh, the 80s. Okay, like what? Oh, I just heard a ding ding. So that means somebody else must have subscribed. LaMetric only warns me every 10. Well, they don't warn me, they alert me. So I'm only up to 2920. So I have gained 3 subscribers during this last 67 minutes that I've been on the air. So if it's anybody here, thanks for subbing. Could just be somebody watching the videos in the background. Arizona Desert Walker. I think there should be a Kathy trophy. So many Kathys in the chat. Hey, Boston Bill. Welcome in. And mostly Dolls Helicopter sent a star. Thank you. Your brain's going faster than your fingers. I get it. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Based on past experience, I just have got to put Sosa back in a timeout. I'm surviving, Bill. How about yourself, sir? Yeah, you're just coming in on the end of this, but I had quite an interesting 40-minute conversation yesterday with a FBI special agent. So you guys didn't see that? You may want to watch the replay, watch the beginning of this video, and see what we discussed. And now I've got to I got to start putting my thoughts together as to the letter that I may be writing to the FBI. But then my head goes to, well, I only know a small percentage of the case, and maybe they've already rolled this person out, or maybe they haven't. Maybe this person's already on their list. I don't know. KMG says, I missed it. We'll watch the replay. Well, thank you, KMG. Disney ruined Star Wars. Yeah, but you know what? My friend George Lucas made a lot of money when he sold it to Disney. Oh. How about making a poster board, writing everyone back on there, and use it as a live thumbnail? That would be impossible. There were so many cards. Um, you may know more than some. Well, I use my detective analytical brain. I know, Boston Bill. I feel the same way. It just breaks my heart. But if you go back and watch the beginning where I talk about my 40-minute conversation with an FBI agent, who, by the way, we weren't talking, it's not like somebody contacted me from the FBI. It was someone in the California PI world that I reached out to, and he just says it's going to take more time. Good evening, no name princess. Yeah, it is disgusting, Bill. But I still, I seem to know more about the case than this guy did because he only followed it for like a month. But he told me some really, you know, he told me his opinions and I told him mine. You'll just have to watch it. Hey, Jean Beck or Jean Newbeck. I always read that as Jean or Jeannie Beck, but it's Jean Newbeck. I should know that by now. It's just the way my brain functions. Noble, listen to your inner voice. You may not know it all about the case, you may not know all about the case, which could be an advantage because your mind is not tainted. Yeah. As I said, if Savannah ever wants to contact me and see this case through a new set of eyes, I'll be happy to talk to her. Uh, I'm glad the story is being told rather than silenced. Well, thank you, David Thompson, and welcome in. KMG, there's a couple of cases in Washington State where older seniors disappeared, usually walking off, I think, but then a year or two later deceased. But then found a year or two later deceased. Yeah, that's very common. And I know somebody here, I think it was Dean, sent me an email about a case in Wisconsin, but I'm not familiar with that case, so I'll have to look that up. So I can't really comment on that. How many days now? Roscoe is day 109. Usually that's why seniors go missing. They call that a senior alert. I've often had cases of younger people that had mental health issues, and then they call it a mental health alert, and those people are usually found deceased. And then I have to come in for insurance purposes, and it's always a mess. It can also be dementia in some of those cases, absolutely, but not in this one. But Front Porch Guy does fit the description of somebody that I've had on my radar from the second week of February. I mean, pretty exact. I just, it's easier to talk to someone like face to face or on a Zoom call or just even a regular phone call, and be able to explain myself. Now, if somebody like Savannah Guthrie calls, I'm going to want to see her face to face or I'm going to want to do a Zoom because I know she's busy and she's in New York and she's got that gig coming up in Manchester, England. So, you know, if she needs to go Zoom or FaceTime, I'll be happy to do it. But if somebody calls and says, "Hey, this is Savannah," I won't believe it unless I can actually, see her on a screen, either standing in front of me in person or on a screen physically, talking to me about the case. Because I wouldn't be that stupid to discuss this with anybody that I don't know who they are. Because there's all kinds of weirdos out there. And I've been sent a lot of weird emails. I call it the manifesto emails, like, oh, geez. There's people that send me emails that have never like commented in any of my videos as far as I know, but they're watching. One of the neighbors has the same ring as Porch Guy, and he loves the attention. He would be my bet. Oh, you should watch my suspect video, Noble. Go to my long form content, click the video tab, and see that video. Yeah, so many people have come in lately and go, "How do I find those videos?" Like, they're on my YouTube channel. Like, I don't just do the lives. Now, my channel does say that I have, 500 and some videos, whatever the most recent count is. I'd have to look at the main channel page. Um, where is the main page? I have this big, long, wide selfie stick tripod in front of me. Oh, it says I have 565. I actually have a lot more because about a year ago, I deleted about a third of my channel. So I have to go into my back end to see like my actual totals because when it tells people how many views there are, that number is actually way, way off because of the deleted videos I had. You're going to. Thanks for the info. You're welcome. Nancy was captured in the middle of the night and hasn't come back. Oh, Arizona Desert Walker says, I learned and taught my mom to do an Amazon wish list because of your channel. It helps. Yeah, that was actually a recommendation by a couple of viewers. And then my former mod, Trisha, she recommended that. And it's, I'm shocked at the amount of people that have responded to that. It's still up there. It's in the links if anybody wants to see that. I've been watching some lives at night. I've been watching other people's vertical lives, and I've noticed that when they're vertical live, the own channel, whoever like the channel is, they can write a comment on their own. Like, I could type something into the comments right now. It would show April Davis PI, but they can highlight their name and they can pin that comment. I got to find out how to pin my own comment because there was this guy I was watching last night, and I've seen him a lot. He goes out in LA, like in the middle of the night, and he's following like the police and the firemen and all the things that are happening in the streets of LA. And I really enjoy it because through a 42-year detective career, I've seen it all. I know every street, every turn, every place. And LA's the city of LA and the population of LA County is bigger than 40 of the US states. I mean, we're bigger than some countries here. So it's amazing that I could see something like that and go, oh, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I know that. Oh, there's that such and such restaurant. Or, oh, I used to go there or I worked there. And he had a comment pinned saying that something about how this is not a sponsored channel, that this is all a self funded channel. And then in that comment that he was able to pin in his own live chat that just permanently stays, I could see it on the bottom because I was watching on a cell phone vertically and I could see the chat button, I could see the gift button, I could see the subscriber button. He puts, this is a fully self-funded channel and here are some of my links, and he had some of his financial links up and he had pinned it so that it just permanently stayed at the bottom. And I need to find out how to pin a comment because obviously I can't type into the chat where I'm filming from my phone, but I could type into the chat right now. Like, let me just do a test. I'm gonna write my comment right here in the chat, and I'm gonna write test, and it highlights my name. I can see it in yellow. Now, can I pin it? Go to channel, pin message. I can. Oh my gosh. Now I know how to do it. I need to be able to put a message in at the beginning because this guy, he had like thousands of people watching him, like at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure all these people weren't Angelinos like myself, but he had like thousands of people watching, and he was like, "Hey, this is a self-funded channel," and he had like his link tree, he had his Cash App, he had his PayPal. Just a few little words about this is a fully self-funded channel, meaning he doesn't have any sponsorships, and I don't either. I'm not big enough to have a sponsorship. He is, but not myself. My channel's not that big. So now, wow, I should be my own mod now. uh, Cali Girl on Fire says, "Good job. Thank you for putting up with me. Let me test that out." I watch YouTube on my phone, on my laptop, on my television, but can only do chat on my phone. Okay. Um, Arizona Desert Walker, very true about chat is easier on PC, but I'm almost asleep. And next time on PC is Friday. I only do PC 2 times a week, sometimes 3. Okay, well, now I can see that. I can see that pinned to the bottom of the chat. Can you guys see it pinned at the bottom of your chat where it says April Davis PI? Is it highlighted in yellow? I couldn't like change the colors. Okay, so you do see it highlighted in yellow at the bottom. Oh, thank you for answering that. Yeah, because I'd like to, I don't want to be like, hey, I'm begging for money, but I'd like to put something up there that this is totally self-funded and any contributions are appreciated. Just so people don't, construe something the wrong way. But as a reminder, you know, because, a lot of people here are, kind of acting as my unofficial mods and they'll bring things to my attention. But on the screen, on the phone, I can only see like 4 or 5 lines. Now, if I look at the computer behind me, which I'm not always sitting at my desk, sometimes I'm sitting at the sofa, then I can see like, 10 or 20 messages. But things go by so fast on the phone. So it would be nice just to be able to have something pinned so it lets people know, like, it's not like my channel bio. They can go to my main channel page for that. But just as a reminder that, yeah, this is not a sponsored video. And yes, but anytime as a creator will always be yellow. Okay. Can you do a poll on here? I'm not sure. Let the lady rest in peace. Well, you know what? We're not trying to desecrate her grave here. We are trying to bring her home because remember, the family still doesn't know where Miss Nancy is. We don't know where Miss Nancy is. Let's bring home Miss Nancy. I will come on here until my last breath, until the day I die, every single day, or at least maybe every other day for the rest of my life if I have to. I want as long as I can keep this relevant, I'm going to keep going. Um, no, I don't know her personally, but I do know a few people that have that do know Savannah. She's this is America's grandma. This isn't just in America. This is all over the world. Yesterday we had somebody come into this from Iceland. Like Iceland. I'm still like blown away that we're getting even people as far away as the Middle East and Asia and Europe and Africa and South America. And, you know, it's amazing. We had Iceland yesterday. Do I agree with nanos? Yes or no? You mean as a poll? I can't I don't know how to do a poll on my vertical live. Yeah, if we can figure that out, I'll look that up later. But first, I want to get my letter together for the FBI. Oh, that would be like a sample question, like, do you agree with nanos, yes or no? Yeah, that would be a good one. Sometimes I've asked people like, hey, I have a question. I want you to put a yes or no in the chat. And then most people don't, they don't type it in. Oh, thank you for your time. Hello, Mississippi. Welcome in. That's so cool. I figured out how to do that today. I'm still learning. Exactly. I don't think so, Arizona Desert Walker. I'm from Los Angeles, California. Wow, 61 people here. I can't say anything theoretically or hypothetically. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But, I'm the only one speaking here, verbally speaking, so I got to be very careful what I say. Remember, this is still an active criminal investigation. Arizona Desert Worker says, hee hee, it would just be an opinion poll. I'll look that up tonight. We'll look it up on Google, since Google owns YouTube. They'll know the answer to that. Funny how earlier I almost gagged on my own channel, but I can actually smell. It's not heavy, but I do smell a little bit of a smoky smell in here, and that's coming from those fires. Generally, how long do cases go before they are often turned over to cold case status? Well, it depends on what type of case it is, but in this particular case, it'll be until they don't have any more physical evidence, such as DNA, to test, or they don't have any more tips coming in. But like in a missing persons case in LA, like for LAPD, it's only open for a year and then it's closed. It's not just cold, it's just closed. Now, a homicide stays open forever until it's solved. Now, if you live in Alaska, the entire state of Alaska has very strict laws that missing people cases stay open forever until they are confirmed somehow to be deceased, whether they have a body or not. But until they can confirm it, those missing persons cases stay open forever. But this is more than a missing persons case. This is a kidnapping case. And this is a very prominent kidnapping case involving a very prominent family. And it's not just known here in the United States. Like I mentioned earlier, she's everybody's grandma here. But you know what? People are contacting me on this from all over the world. This is big in Australia and New Zealand. And people in Iceland, for Christ's sakes, know about this case. That's crazy. People in Africa, Monaco, South America. It's not just, my biggest audience is the US, Canada, the UK, and Australia. But it's more than just the English-speaking countries. I watched Dad's Gone Live, and he was meeting people that had not heard of Miss Guthrie. Yeah, there are people that live under a rock that never watch TV or listen to the news. Keep speaking the truth. Question everything. I know there could be many different things you could get opinions on. Europe here? Where are you coming in from? Where in Europe? Last night we had Iceland. Hey, Kathy, can you be my semi-mod here? And I'm going to take a 30-second restroom break. Thank you, honey. Thank you so much. Oh, Noble says Germany. Noble, I am part German. Let me put my mic back on. I thought I was primarily British and Irish, but I'm actually a pretty big percentage of German. I'm about 3.5% Italian. But speaking of Germany, it's so funny that you would come in from Germany. And this is something I need to look into. I have a great-great-grandfather, of course, never knew him. He lived in the 1800s, but he was an immigrant from Germany, as was his wife, and he became a naturalized U.S. citizen at some point in his life, and he fought in the U.S. Civil War. And I've got records of it. I've even seen his military tombstone. Great-great-grandfather Francis, who was known as Frank. And I found out that if I can prove this, which I think I can, I don't know how many birth certificates I need. I can't exactly get birth certificates from the 1800s until now. But if I can prove to this group, it's called something like the Daughters of the Union Veterans of the Civil War, the government, I think, will send me some sort of like certificate and like a medal in honor of great-great-granddaddy Frank. And I was told to go on their website, that there are local groups that are called tents, and that I need to contact my local tent, whatever that means, and, introduce myself because he was born in Germany. And, but he came to the United States and he fought for the Union in the Civil War. And he was a private and he was a blacksmith. So that's very interesting. I don't have a picture of the guy, but I have a picture of his tombstone. And there's different spellings, different variations of his last name. It's a very odd name, but I do have some of the war records that I can get from like ancestry.com. Um, he is my grandmother's grandfather, and he hailed from Germany. So pretty cool to have somebody from Germany and welcome in. I know that has nothing to do with Nancy Guthrie, but um, yeah, like I want to look into that. So there is other things that do occupy my time. I do want to look into that. Look into great great grandfather Frank, who served our country from Germany. Um, he was born. It says online Prussia, Germany, but I'll have to find out more specific details. Thank you so much, Kathy. Yeah, I mean, I've known this for a while, but um, one of my cousins, his ex-wife, had put it up on her Facebook page that she's related to. She is the daughter of a veteran of the Civil War, and she showed like this ribbon that she got, and it almost looks like a military type medal. And I don't know if it's issued by the government or if it's issued by this group, but there's some sort of official like paperwork that comes. And I would love to have something like that and, frame it. I would love to have a picture of the guy. I've always wondered what he looked like. Um, my cousin that comes in here every now and then may have information. I'm going to have to send him a text and ask him, like, how do I find out more about great great grandfather Frank? Um, a city he lived in or was born would help. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look. So, yeah, isn't that impressive? And I know I have other relatives that came over and were in the um, I've just gone blank, the Revolutionary War. But I'd like to know more about great great grandpa Frank, who served in the Civil War. And obviously he survived because he died much later. But he lived to be 53, and that was kind of old for like the population. Someone that came from the 1800s to live to 53. If you want, you can mod me, and we'll do anything you ask. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, it's just amazing. Arizona Desert Orchid. Kathy, we are going to rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take I higher. I don't know what that means. Grandson and I are watching. Made us some hot pockets. Thank you, P6, for coming in. Yeah, if you guys didn't see the beginning of this, please do. Please see the beginning where I talk about my 40-minute conversation that I had with the FBI. He is not related to this case, but we did talk about it. And now you guys don't start talking about food because I didn't eat much yet today. I'm going to get hungry. Maggie says, my great great grandfather came from Germany and served in the Civil War. Check GAR reports for state of enlistment. I know where he enlisted. He enlisted from Illinois. Yeah, my great great grandfather came from Germany too and was in the Civil War for the Union. So yeah, I can't wait to look into that. And I need to start that soon because it may take a little while to pull documents. And I'm no longer I still have an ancestry.com account, but I'm not like a subscriber because it's something like $150 a year or something or more, and I don't have the subscription anymore. So yeah, but I'll ask my cousin about what we know about great great grandpa Frank and how I can get some sort of proof. Because I didn't grow up in Illinois. Like everybody in my family's from Illinois, but I'm not. And I didn't grow up around the cousins and the grandparents and you know all the extended family on my parents' side. Gar records were in Indiana. Okay. Yeah, it's just I found that interesting that they can give him or give me some sort of like an official like certificate and a ribbon. And if I got something like that, I'd like to have it, professionally framed and, hang it up in my living room or something. I don't have a lot of wall space in this small apartment, but that would be so cool. I have my storage. I've been cleaning out storage the last couple weeks because I've been so sick the last few years. I hadn't been able to do that, and I have to pay a lot of money a month to keep that business record storage. And I've got literally boxes and boxes of like plaques and awards and certificates and literal like PI awards and like, I got stuff from the Secret Service, I got stuff from the state of California and just from all these organizations, and it's like, I really miss having a second bedroom that can be a dedicated office, and I could just put my whole, like, career up on the wall. Not that I have a lot of people over, but it's just sitting in storage, like, in these big boxes collecting dust. I had it in my Studio City house that was in the Brady Bunch neighborhood because I had a second room in that house. But in this place is very small, and I didn't mean to stay here as long as I've been here, and then all the health things happened, and now I'm just, I'll be stuck here until the day I take my last breath or run out of funds, whichever happens first. I have no desire to move now, but, um, yeah, I'm just like, "Wow, I'm paying so much storage for all this stuff," but I just can't get it down enough. There's no way. There's not even any closet space here or even hardly any cabinet space, that I could just put all that stuff, so maybe I can hire someone to switch it to a cheaper storage, but, I don't wanna have to go to the ghetto for that. I'd like to have it close because sometimes someone will call and I'll have to look something up in an old file, and I still have the hard copy records, so, um, I just have boxes and boxes of that stuff, but it would be so cool to get, like, a certificate or some type of, like, official document that I could dedicate to him, and then I could show all you guys. You could take a picture of it and make it a thumbnail. Yeah, it would be so cool just to have that. Not really. The smoke, the smoke, your eyes, are they irritated at all? No, I've been trying to stay inside, but I can smell it a little bit, and like my throat got really dry, even though I've got two, well, what's left over of these drinks in front of me. You know, the air is very, very dry, and I do have. They don't look too bloodshot. I hope not. I do have the AC kind of turned up higher so that it doesn't come on as much because I don't want to smell that smoke. But in LA, none of the front doors seal properly because of earthquakes and former damage to these buildings. And so all the front doors of almost every place I've ever lived, they're not like plumb with the wall. They're like skewed. And so you know, when it gets windy, the air can come in here. The hot air in the summer and the cold air in the winter. And sometimes in the winter it starts humming, it starts whistling, and it sounds like a haunted house, like woo, like so I don't want to smell that smoke. It's not so bad that I need to put down like a towel at the front door, but in the summertime this can go on for months. It's a little early for it to be happening this time of year, but we got fires everywhere right now. Now supposedly it's going to be we're gonna get back to our, May gray on Friday. Do you have central air? Yes, I do. Doesn't work very good because it's old, but it works. They fixed it a lot. They put a lot of Band-Aids on it. So Yeah, I couldn't live in the San Fernando Valley without central air. You can only survive that, like, down at the beach. I've lived near the beach before when I was a baby, and it was freezing all the time, even in the summer. Yeah, there's some summers down on the beach that people live down there, and they're like, "I spent the whole summer and I couldn't go to the beach one day because it was so cold." But we are way off topic here. You guys that are coming in late, just make sure you watch the beginning of the playback, at least the first half hour or so, and then you'll be able to see what we talked about the FBI agent that I had a conversation with. History enjoyer, I want to be positive. I like to look at things as the glass half full rather than half empty, and I'd like to say, I think so. I'm going to say that I hope so. And the FBI agent I spoke to, he does believe too it'll be solved, but he says there's a much smaller chance that they'll actually find the remains. But that's just my personal opinion. Remember, I'm not working this case, but I do think that eventually, but there's so much focus on this case. There's not just people in the US, but like I said, we have somebody in the chat from Germany. Last night we had someone from Iceland. We've had people from Australia and New Zealand and the Middle East and Israel and all over the world. So this is a big, big case, and there's a lot of pressure to get this done. Kathy, I know someone in Arizona that had to purchase a heat pump and it cost them 8,000. Woo! Exactly. We talked about that earlier today because John Ramsey just did an interview that was released today with Brian Anton. This whole thing reminds me of John Benet Ramsey. Absolutely. Especially with the mistakes made by the Pima County Sheriff. Just the ignorance of some of the things that were done. You were in an apartment and yours is brand new. You're lucky. Yeah, you were telling me about your place, Kathy, and I'm like, I want to come live in your apartment, especially with a washer and a dryer. And especially with Sassy Granny, she sent me that big giant bottle of Tide. Like, I can do all the bedding and the sleeping bag and the cat blankies and the rabbit's blankie. I could just be doing laundry for 10 hours if I had my own washer and dryer. I get out to the laundry about once a week, and it's 1 or 2 loads max, and whatever can be done is done. We should all move to her place. You were gonna watch that as soon as this ends. Oh, you mean the replay? Thank you. Yeah, watch the, information about the FBI agent. And I do have to eat today, and my baseball game comes on in 20 minutes. I have to cook, I have to watch my ball game, I have to put my letter together for the FBI. Hopefully, that'll get done by the end of the day. And then I wanna take a time to, I wanna look into this thing about my great-great-grandpa. Has anyone ever said if Nancy had a history of walking off? I heard that she has not. Mistakes that can help a guilty person go free or condemn an innocent person, in my humble opinion. Exactly. And that's why, people were always, ragging on the Ramseys that they should have been more cooperative with the police. But they knew from day one that the police had them as their prime suspect, and their friends actually hired lawyers for both of them. And their lawyer said, you keep your mouth shut and you do what we tell you to do. And that's what they did, because there are a lot of people that are in prison today that are innocent. Remember that. There are a lot of innocent people that are behind bars in prison, some of which will never get justice and never get out. They have to make sure that they do the investigation correctly, they gather the evidence correctly. I think there's going to be a problem at trial because the crime scene wasn't secured like it was supposed to. The FBI came in too late. This is all things that can go wrong. But let's just pray that, I'd say there's a 70% chance that they get a hit off of that DNA. And that's trying to be positive. Check GAR, a record loss of information on application for membership. Okay, thank you. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Everybody, make sure you give me a thumbs up. You know, today I received one jewel. I can't remember who it was from. Thank you. And it has converted to a 1-cent ruby. So I have been talking for 105 minutes and not including the commercials that will show mostly for the replays. This video has made 1 cent. That's why I need to learn, which I just did today, how to pin a comment at the bottom so that I can remind everybody that we're not sponsored. Oh, well, hey, I got change. I'm getting ready to go off. Let's see how many subscribers we got. Thanks for bringing that up, Kelly. Let me go to the dashboard. Well, it looks like we've got 5 during the broadcast, so that helps. We're at 2922. But, you know, some days you gain a few, you lose a few. But as long as it keeps going up, I need another 78 subscribers to reach 3,000. So everybody, share the channel. And that doesn't cost a penny. But thank you for coming, and I love you all.